A huge part of the state's case relies on the testimony of Kenneth Lil Woody Copeland.
And you're Atlanta native, right?
Yeah, born and raised.
What part of the city you from?
Mechanicsville.
The YSL RICO trial resumed today. Jurors returned to the Fulton County courtroom as Kenneth Lil Woody Copeland agreed to testify.
I'm from Atlanta. I'm from Mechanicsville.
After an 8-week hiatus, jurors returned to the courtroom to hear testimony in the YSL trial.
I'm from Mechanicsville. Born and raised.
Atlanta News First, Rachel Aragon, live outside the Fulton County courtroom. And Rachel, a key witness was very reluctant to take the stand today.
Very much so, yeah. Star witness Kenneth Copeland, a.k.a. Lil Woody, returned to the stand today. And much like when he testified back in June of this year, he initially at least did not want to answer the state's questions.
Kenneth Copeland, aka Lil Woody, a nickname given to him by his mom as a young kid, grew up in one of the oldest neighborhoods in Atlanta, Georgia. Mechanicsville sprang up in the late 19th century, adjacent to several railroad lines just south of downtown. The name Mechanicsville comes from the mechanics that work on the railway lines. Mechanicsville was once a vibrant, multi-ethnic community with working-class blacks and middle-class whites, and home to several prominent merchant families, including the Rich family of Rich department store fame. The neighborhood went into heavy decline, caused by out-migration of many middle-class families to the suburbs, rampant crime, and the construction of Atlanta-Fulton County Stadium and the nearby interstate highways. Since the early 2000s, Mechanicsville has undergone major revitalization due to its proximity to downtown and midtown. Middle-class families and individuals are moving back to the neighborhood. Many abandoned and damaged homes have been renovated by investors. Newly constructed homes are growing in the neighborhood. Economic development has improved. Property values are steadily increasing, and racial diversity is on the rise again. Born at Grady Memorial Hospital of Atlanta, Georgia in July of 1991, Woody would find himself living in several areas throughout Mechanicsville, coming up as a youngin'. In 2001, while living in Bowen's Homes, a bankhead, Woody would lose his father to cancer. 6 or 7 years would pass before Woody and his mother moved back to Mechanicsville. In an unfortunate turn of events, Woody would lose his mother in 2008. The death of his mother was traumatizing to the young Woody, which ultimately led to him separating from the rest of his family and taking to the streets. One of the most impactful incidents that would take place in Woody's life will be the loss of his best friend, DB, while Woody was still a teen. It was the murder of DB that would transform Woody into a demon, terrorizing the streets of the ATL. It wouldn't be long before Woody's name would be ringing in the streets, earning him the reputation of a certified gangster who was about that foolishness. Losing his mother at the age of 17 had turned Woody into a cold-hearted individual that would separate himself from any and everyone that brought a sense of normality to his life. It wasn't surprising at all when at the age of 17, Woody's first arrest would be for being an underage individual in possession of a firearm. For the offense, Woody would end up spending his 18th birthday in the county jail. While in the streets, Woody was on some when I see you, it's on type shit with his ops. With his killer instinct mentality and guardian protector type mindset, Woody would find himself taking on and handling beefs that had nothing to do with him. Just like many other troubled teens, by the age of 18, Woody was fully engulfed in Atlanta's gang culture as a full-fledged member of 30 Deep, a street gang in one sense, but more so a configuration of like-minded teens and young men with a thirst for violence and mayhem. 30 Deep members were allegedly responsible for an endless run of violent crimes, along with smash and grab burglaries of high-end stores such as Saks Avenue and Nordstrom, dragging off a downtown ATM with a stolen car, as well as shooting and killing anyone cooperating with law enforcement. But unlike the other high-profile street gangs, 30 Deep were more difficult to track than the gangs that previously ran the streets of Atlanta because of their loose organizational ties. It was during an investigation by ATL's gang task force that law enforcement would trace 30 Deep's origin to chance encounters of old-school gangsters returning from bids in prison to find young dudes that were living the street life to become eager and willing participants. What emerged from those encounters with the older ex-cons was the formation of criminally minded individuals based out of the Atlanta neighborhood of Mechanicsville. Unlike the old gangs who stayed close to their turf, usually around Atlanta's housing projects, 30 Deep members were harder to predict. They ventured out, traveling to metro area cities such as Dunwoody, Lawrenceville, and even Dawsonville to commit their brazen acts of violent crimes. What makes 30 Deep harder to identify is a lack of permanent members, no real code or hard and fast leadership, with members drifting in and out of the gang. Wouldn't be long before law enforcement discovered that 30 Deep was really an umbrella group, including factions from surrounding neighborhoods who went by names such as DRC, aka the Robbing Crew, or YRC, aka the Young Robbing Crew. By 2008, 30 Deep was running full on, committing frequent smash and grabs under the media moniker the Blue Jean Bandits.
Right now, police are looking for the smash and grab bandits who used a van to crash into a Nordstrom's and steal thousands of dollars worth of clothing.
Yeah, CBS Atlanta's Steve Cooge is live at Perimeter Mall this afternoon. And Steve, police say these aren't typical criminals. How so?
Well, these guys definitely knew what they were doing. First off, they plowed their vehicle into a section of Nordstrom's right near the expensive clothing selection. And second of all, they actually had a getaway vehicle ready and waiting for them to make their escape. Dunwoody police say they haven't seen thieves use tactics this aggressive in a long time.
Repair crews worked fast to hide the damage done after a robbery at this Nordstrom department store. The doors were locked at 6 in the morning, but that didn't matter because the thieves here used a stolen vehicle, crashing their way inside. Dunwoody police have seen smash and grabs before, but none like this.
This is going to be a first for a vehicle actually driving through a door over there at the mall.
The thieves left the stolen van but took as many pairs of jeans and other clothing as they could carry. The True Religion jeans they took average about $250 a pair. Employees were inside at the store at the time, but no one was hurt. The mall does have a 24-hour security team, but police say they don't know where they were while the thieves were looting the store.
That's a pretty aggressive smash and grab. You know, the damage is going to be a lot more than what they actually took from the store. It's just showing that they're going to go to any length to get that clothing out of the stores.
The crime has shoppers worried about their safety.
Definitely alarming to think that, you know, I could just be inside there looking around and somebody just crash into the building and potentially, you know, hurt me or something.
CBS Atlanta News spoke to Nordstrom's corporate offices, and they say this kind of crime is unique to Atlanta. They couldn't recall the last time anyone has robbed one of their stores using a vehicle as a battering ram.
Now, Perimeter Mall was hit by a smash and grab a couple of months ago. In that clothing heist, 5 men made off with about $17,000 worth of the same brand of jeans that were actually taken this time around. Live in DeKalb County, I'm Steve Cooge, CBS Atlanta News.
In 2010, Kenneth Copeland, aka Lil Woody, along with other members of 30 Deep, were charged with theft by receiving stolen property and criminal street gang activities stemming from these robberies. Amidst it all, a superstar would rise from the crime-riddled, violent streets of Atlanta. In 2012, Jeffrey Williams, aka Young Thug, formed Young Limelight, the alleged successor to the previous Southeast Atlanta gang raided on Cleveland that would allegedly end up merging its operation with a music label of the same name, creating a deliberately camouflaged mix between the music business and criminal gang activity. It wouldn't be until late 2013 that Lil Woody would link up with Young Thug through a mutual partner. The rest would be history. The streets of Atlanta will become a killing field after the 2015 murder of Donovan Thomas, aka Big Nut, a senior-ranking Inglewood Blood Gang member. According to Fulton County detectives, Nut was assassinated on orders given to Thug by the East Coast-based gang Sex Money Murder. Just like out of a movie, Nut's murder split the city's blood gangs into separate sects that would engage in a violent gang war with the Cleveland Avenue-based YSL and its aligned cliques, facing the wrath of other blood sets from the city that was tied to Summer Hill. Not to be slept on, YFN is also associated with Atlanta's hip-hop scene and the music industry. What was shocking to most was that before Nut's murder, YSL and YFN made appearances in each other's songs, like Moving, as well as a collab with Bloody J, in which they name-dropped both Sex Money Murder and Raised on Cleveland. Prosecutors suggested that as many as 7 or 8 murders a year could be attributed to the running violent gang war that followed Nut's murder.
So now to a developing story this morning. The search is on for the person who shot 3 people, including a 14-year-old. 1 man died.
And 26-year-old Donovan Thomas was in the most serious condition, and the medical examiner's office confirmed he did not survive.
On January the 5th of 2015, Inglewood family blood gang member Kelvin Watts assaulted and attempted to rob Lil Woody at Club Crucial, which will further add fuel to the flames. When living the street life, it's imperative that you keep your head on a swivel. 6 months after the murder of Nut, Lil Woody got into a shootout with rival gang members as he was bringing his baby girl to his car. Paranoid and always on beam, Woody, who obviously was aware of his surroundings, noticed a vehicle parked waiting near a stop sign. Before Woody could make another move, the shooter started busting out of the window with a chopper of the car, where the window was already raised halfway down. Luckily, Woody was able to get his daughter to safety while busting back with a Glock 40. In April of that same year, not long after being released from prison on a parole violation, Kenneth Copeland, aka Lil Woody, was arrested again for being a felon in possession of a firearm after bringing an assault rifle into Dunbar Recreational Center Gymnasium. During his time on the streets, Lil Woody had been arrested a staggering 57 times. On October the 22nd of 2018, Woody was sentenced to federal prison for the charge. In September of 2015, Shannon Stillwell, aka SB, would fall victim to a deadly shooting but leave Tiara Jones dead.
A young mother murdered. She was just driving a car when somebody opened fire. It happened near Turner Field in southeast Atlanta. Someone in another car started shooting and killed Tiara Bogan-Jones. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes has been following the story all day long. And Deidre, are police any closer to making an arrest for this mother's murder?
And well, the search does still continue for the shooter, and right now we don't have a good description of that suspect vehicle, but I did speak with the victim's family, and they tell me that they do not believe she was the intended target. 2 beautiful little girls now being cared for by their aunts. The close-knit family struggling with Saturday's deadly shooting that claimed the life of Tiara Bogan-Jones. Her daughters, 7-year-old Tylissa and 3-year-old Tamira, now left without a mom.
It's been very hard, and to just have to let 2 young children know that they will never see their mom again, it was very devastating for the family. We still have unanswered questions as to the reason why. or who.
Atlanta police say Bogan Jones and 2 friends were driving near Turner Field in the vicinity of Milton Avenue and Hank Aaron Drive in southeast Atlanta early Saturday morning when a car pulled up next to her SUV and opened fire. Bogan Jones was hit in the face. Her family devastated, determined to bring her killer to justice.
If it was your family member, you would want to know. So at the end of the day, we just want closure.
The victim's family is convinced Bogan Jones was not the intended target, insisting it was no coincidence someone shot her after she took a friend to pick up her boyfriend.
That's where the issue, I guess, occurred. He was, from what we heard or know, he was in an altercation prior to them picking him up. And as they were exiting or leaving the complex or the area, they were followed and gunned down. It wasn't her dispute, it wasn't her mess, her issue. She was just giving someone a ride. And that's the unfair and unjust part about the whole situation.
Bogan Jones was the youngest of 5 children and had recently started a new job with a catering company out at the airport. Loved ones say she was the life of the party, a young woman with a ready smile and a big heart.
She was the life of the party. She was the light. When she smiled, you had no choice but to smile with her. It was just that contagious.
Now, the 2 passengers in her vehicle that night were not shot. One suffered some severe leg injuries, is still recovering at Grady Hospital, we're told. As for Bogan Jones, a GoFundMe account has been set up in her name to help pay for funeral expenses and other expenses. We understand that the family is trying to get some money together to take care of those needs as they arise. Anyone with information in this case asked to contact the Atlanta Police Department. And that's the latest here in Southeast Atlanta. I'm Deidre Dukes, Fox 5 News.
In November of that same year, Atlanta police made 3 arrests in connection to the murder. Jamal Ward, Kelvin Watts, and Bobby Hardy were charged in the death of Tiara Jones. Upon Lil Woody's release from prison, he jumped into the music game, trying his hand at rap. The music was the ultimate distraction for Woody that kept his mind out of the streets. However, that wouldn't last long, as COVID would rain on Woody's parade, shutting down the music due to social distancing. It wouldn't be long before Kenneth Copeland, aka Lil Woody, was back to his old self. Now a free man, the internet was on fire with hundreds, if not thousands, of people labeling Woody as a snitch. This labeling would ultimately end up hitting close to home, as someone that Woody knew was on Instagram dragging him for being a snitch. Fed up with all the talk over social media, Woody set out to make an example of the individual. Luckily, the gun that he attempted to use jammed, preventing him from taking out his target. After all of these shootings and all of these arrests, one would believe that the war had come to an end. Correct? Wrong. In March of 2022, police arrested 2 of 3 suspects that were responsible for a shooting in southwest Atlanta that left a man dead. Police took Shannon Stillwell, aka SB, and Quamorius Nichols into custody, charging them with felony murder and criminal street gang violence. Their charges stem from what police described as a gang-related shooting that took place in the 400 block of Windsor Street. Shamel Dranks was found shot multiple times just south of an I-20 overpass in the Mechanicsville neighborhood. He would die at the scene.